Okay, there, it's recording. So what I'll be discussing with everyone today is the B2C digital business model with context businesses. Context e-businesses in the internet. Anyway, so what is the context business model? Okay, where is this? Okay, so basically, the context business model is about um, focusing on classifying and systematizing information available on the internet. So it does not have its own content, but it does help you navigate through different aids. It compiles information according to a specific criteria and presents it to the user in a context matter. So in this case, search engines are the most popular kind of context business models. So basically, search engines are computer systems that automatically search millions of documents according to the criteria that the user wants. Moreover, we have, rather, the search engines have soft bots. They help the search engine sort the documents into a database, and then the soft bots are the ones updating the database. So the most popular search engine that we have today would be Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Um, when it comes to Google as a search engine or any search engine at all, some of the social media platforms that we have today use or rather integrate these search engines in order to find the specific information that they want to know well for users. So in the context setting, a search engine, okay, there, a search engine retrieves information that a user asks for. So this means that it's essentially what we know right now. So when we type in the search bar what we want to know, or for example, a dog, a picture of a dog, or like information about dogs, when we type into that search bar, anything that revolves around what a dog is, how it looks like, examples like videos, etc. It will show into that like website or platform. So search engine, it's also known as an e-search, or its model is an e-search business model. So it uses both direct and indirect revenue models. So these are like the advertising that we can see whenever we click on that search button. Um, you will see like the first link or the first section there is usually used for ads, and then next is they usually use the contextual advertising. So they use keywords to like link to that specific ad to the user, and this gives or generates revenue um to that platform. um and then there are different kinds, or rather subcategories, underneath like a search business model or a search engine, and these are namely general search, special search, meta search, desktop search. So I'll be discussing the general search, the meta search, and the desktop search. So a general search is usually like everything, like anything under a rock, anything that um anything in the world. This doesn't have any specific like categories or um restrictions. It's like you can just search anything, or um anything under the sun, basically. So the most notable search engines that we have that cater to a general search would be Google and Bing. The next one is a meta search, and the meta search are usually used by general search, but in this case, a meta search links like several general or search engines, and then it would forward these information or requests to several search services, and it's usually useful when it comes to a user specifying like um relatively rare search items, like nothing nothing common. It's usually like unique. So like the meta search will help these search engines find what these unique um queries are. And then the next search is the desktop search. So this is usually what we have in our PCs. And it's the same concept as internet search engines. It's just that as a user of that specific computer that you have like personalized search queries in your systems. I mean, rather computers. So what it does there is it saves whatever you search using your computer, and it kind of generates like the next search suggestions in the box. And what we have right now, so if you're using um Windows as your OS, it's gonna you would normally use the Windows search or Bing installed in your computer, and there's also Yahoo Desktop and Google Desktop. So the next context category is the web directory. So usually a web directory is an online list or catalog of websites, and these websites, or rather this directory, is controlled. It has a specific relevance to like a specific category, and then whoever owns that directory would like edit the different queries that it has. And um yeah. So these web directories are normally called e-catalogs. So it has address directories, and like I said a while ago, like people or the owners of this catalog would normally filter out the things they want and exclude the things they don't want. And it has a specific classification of content that they want, or content or information that they want to post in that directory. And this is usually targeted to like specific group of people. These categories normally, well, web catalogs rather, they're usually like you have to pay a hefty amount, and for you to be considered, just to be considered in that catalog. And like for companies that have a bigger budget, they have like the power to actually influence the position of their links in that catalog. And then this would usually give them advantage, and then usually take all the users and just find the alternative offers for that specific link. So these companies would like pay a lot of money just to be on the top of that catalog. And then an example of these catalogs are the yellow.com and sherlock.com. Next content is bookmarking services. So These are usually found in each browsers that we have. So whenever you click that bookmark or like a star or a favorite that specific excuse me, specific website, it really just saves into your browser. So this is usually like bookmarking services are that would allow users with similar search queries to find information faster. And these are like stored for later retrieval if you want to get back to it, and it would come in different storage formats. So usually what I in my experience when it comes to bookmarking services, it would normally save as an HTML file. So, like I said, all browsers have this service. And then bookmarking services are also called e-bookmarking. This is usually um, collaborative indexing internet-based information among a well-defined user groups, and they usually assign keywords in the web browser by means of social media applications. So there's only specific people who would target like ebook markings, and the indexing. So indexing is usually like a data structure technique to get records and to get them as fast as possible. And um uh usually search engines would use indexing to collect and store data. And then examples of ebook marking services as delicious.us on demos.org. So delicious.us is a social bookmarking web service for storing, sharing, and discovering web bookmarks. DMOZ is a multilingual um, directory of the World Wide Web, and the site is also known as an open directory project. The next is the value chain. So, like, how does these services connect to one another? So the value chain of a context provider this is usually dependent on how on what hardware they use and what software they integrate with that hardware. So the server structures are usually the most important here because a good server structure indicates efficiency when it comes to processing data that a user wants. And so what happens here is usually like the search engine, the user will type in what they want, and then like in a matter of seconds or milliseconds, the user will get the needed information that they want. In this case, this figure is about how the web server interacts with the different components that it has. So the first one, like I said, is the user. So a user would like type in the search query, and then the web server will give the result. The next one is so after which the web server might want to check first that search query if it has a good spelling, if it has the right spelling, if it needs to be corrected. So another one will be the ad server. So the ad server will check like what types of companies that purchase ads, and how will they input that to the search result. Like is it the most the top result? Is it just a general information or general like um not an ad not paid link? And then the index server is usually like the front end part, like, and then the document server, etc. So it's like a give and take thing when it comes to the web server. It has the different components, they all work together to in order for the um the user to receive the much needed information it wants. So there's a lot of things happening behind each search query. And this is usually uh, done in each. So each service provider of context service provider, they have different servers, they have different softwares that would generate the search results that the user wants. And then next would be the so in order for these search to be done successfully, they would need like a software or a search algorithm. So a context provider would reorganize or recognize the terms entered by the user. So it must be able to distinguish clearly the information desired by the user. So basically, if a user requests a specific document with a specific file type, the algorithm needs to be able to directly deliver these documents back to the user. So an example, well, the examples of like a search algorithm would be like Boolean operators, phrase search, and exact meaning. Here is an example of how it works, how um, a server works, an interface of like Google in this case. So here we can see that Google displays both like the results, the general results. So the general results would fall under below the top result. So that those are the general results. And you see beside the first result it says add. So these mean it means that every time for me, if I click on that link, um Google will generate like a pay per click cost. So here we can see that there's a menu bar on top. So we have the shopping, images, videos. So when you click those, like specific shopping deals are gonna pop there, links, images, so only images will pop there, videos, same. So this is important because it provides like a context of how things are working out in each interface, and you also see like the value of it. Like you can see like immediately what you want to know. If you want to know further into what Lazada is or where we can find Lazada, it's pleasing to the eye, and you know what you want immediately. And then, so what is an ad or an ad server? So, an ad server is usually the source of revenue when it comes to these context business models. So, um, it's usually about getting the keyword of a specific search query, and then the software will run and then check like which company has this ads, and then give it to the user. Okay, this one it is. So usually the placement is the most important. So there are three types of ads. It's usually the keyword advertising, pay per click, and page rank algorithm. So keyword advertising, it's basically matching the search query and then the word that ad connects to, and then putting it on that interface. And then pay per click is about per click. So per click of a user has a monetary value to it that the content provider would charge the company. And next is the page rank algorithm. This is usually like who will go which ad pays more. So the person or the company rather that pays the highest amount of ad of a specific keyword will go at the top, the first page of the context provider. So that's usually it. So for a context provider, to be successful, it should have these four core assets. So these four core assets would be a user base, hardware, data, and brand. So the user base is significant because you want people to be able to trust you. People should have a lot of people should like flock into your the context. Well, no, people should be able to like flock in your like website to be able to use it. Another one is hardware, so you should have like not state of the art, but enough like good enough hardware to produce the quick search results that the user would want. And then it should be able to handle the amount or the load that these like the different users that would use your website. And then next would be data. So you should be able to provide enough data or specific data that the user the search query that the user wants. And then last is usually the brand. So brand is like how the public perceives you, and how like are you trusted, are you reliable, stuff in that aspect. And the next is you have to be, as a context provider, you have to be competent. So there are three things that would measure the competency of a context provider. It's usually the listing and structuring, service and CRM, and security. So listing and structuring is usually you providing relevant results, and you showing like the important ads or like all the ads that are necessary for that specific keyword. Service and CRM is about the user interface. Like, can someone who's not versed in technology easily navigate themselves to? And yeah, and then and lastly, for like to wrap up this entire chapter, we have the case study. So the case study is about Bing. So Bing is a Microsoft search engine. So it's made by Microsoft, and it's usually designed to be a decision maker for its users. So an example would be when a user would, plan to travel or what to shop, Bing would suggest these things. And this the purpose of Bing is, or rather the focus of Bing is to personalize or customize like the interface of the user. And then lastly, like Bing also made like a rewards program for its users. So every time you click or you use Bing to search for your information, they would like give you a point, and then these points would turn into like the Microsoft reward, so you can claim them however you want in the list of choices for these rewards. And then next would be so what is the context business model of Bing? So in this case, since Bing is like a general search, so you can search anything you want under the sun. Bing will provide that for you. So it is a general search and e-search context business model. Next is, so what are the core assets of Bing? Bing is or said to be like has a classification, a systematization of information available in the internet. It makes the information accessible and user friendly for its users. And um, Bing is also known for its good structure and placement for its advertising customers. So advertising customers are usually satisfied with how Bing provides this service to them. Next would be the what are the services of Bing. So the services that Bing provides is usually like designed and designed directly and linearly. So it is what it is, and it's easy to understand. Next is, so whatever information collected here, um, they systematize and classify it, so that users would be able to get it immediately per their requests. Next would be like, how does Bing get money out of, being a free search engine? So they would usually, like other search engines, use advertisements. So they would display normally like page rank, pay per click, keyword advertising to produce revenue in this. Next is like, the competencies of Bing as a context provider. So Bing is characterized by a particularly good in handling and usability of its website. So it's usually um it would they have an ideal listing and structuring. So this involves like the indication and representation of relevant search results for a search query. So basically, like they provide similar context as Google. Um, their services and CRM competence are also on the spot. These would be like their an example would be like their customization of their interface. So you're able to, Bing would suggest different information for you, in regards to your search queries. You're able to customize how your um, interface would look like. So you can change your background, you can change like what kind of news you want to see, etc. So this is an example of the Bing's business model. So you see here like the value creation model. So it collects data information, then systematize it, and then classify and then store and then provide the users their needed information. And then another one here is, you can see the strategy model. Um, and then the competency and resources model. We have also the customer model. You see here like the user, and then it's advertising customers, and then the revenue model. So like, yeah, this is the business model of Bing. And then lastly is the this table basically summarizes whatever I talked about previously regarding Bing's strategy, business model, range of services, and success factors. So, like I said, in strategy, they're able to provide users a user-friendly interface, and then their business model is the general search, their e-search, and then they also have like their services is free, like I said, and it uses Microsoft services. Also, it has a user-friendly interface, and their success factor would usually um indicate like the fact that Bing is associated with Microsoft as its parent company. And yes, so this is the end of my presentation. I hope that you guys are able to um, learn a thing or two about context provider business models. And yeah, that ends it. So that's all. Thank you. Yeah.